Okay, so it's that time of the year again. It's time for those big important sports games. And one of the staples of watching the game with your friends and family is having a nice, rich, hearty bowl of chili.
And today on WTF, we're going to show you two versions of chili, a traditional and a plant-based. Hello and welcome to WTF, where we transform food here in the Modernist Pantry Test Kitchen. I'm Chef Scott Guerin.
And I'm Janie Wang, one of the owners of Modernist Pantry. And if you're just tuning in to WTF, remember you want to subscribe and ring the bell so you get notified of our content. We do try to come out with something really cool and fun every single Tuesday, so you want to be one of the first people to ever be notified about that exciting news. All right, so today we're going to do a follow-up episode to one that we did last year about the big game foods, which is if you're into football season and there's lots of big games coming up and you want to get together with your friends and family and watch it together and have a delicious meal, without like just buying some random stuff that may or may not taste very good, we have some great recipes for you.
Yeah, we actually have one of my favorite recipes to make. Is one of the first things I made when I was a child was chili. Mm-hmm. And we wanted to make it two different ways so that anyone could possibly have this delicious chili. And it's really nice. Actually, I kind of want to get right into the demo because there's a lot to do here. And I want to see, show people how easy it is to make this chili.
Okay.
So first thing we're going to do, we're actually going to be making a plant-based chili here, but our recipe is so you can make either a plant-based or a meat chili. So it's really great, really versatile for anyone to eat. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to brown off our plant-based meat. So very simply, I just put a little bit of oil, just coat the bottom of the pan. And especially with the plant-based meat, so just make sure you have a nice coating on the pan, because it is just like meat, so it will eventually stick. Mm-hmm. If you have a non-stick pan, that works just fine. So here's our plant-based meat, and I'm going to get it right into the pan. And you cook it just like ground beef. So I'm just going to break it up just like ground beef.
Yeah, and if you're like, what plant-based meat? There's an entire episode all about it. The link will be in the description below.
Yeah. Haven't you heard?
So you can definitely make this yourself at home. It's an easy DIY recipe where you can basically, if you're looking at the pan right now, it looks just like ground beef. You cook it just like it. It's great. So go check that out if you haven't already.
Yeah, so I'm just going to get this browning, and then we'll get into the other parts in just a minute. But yeah, the reason we wanted to come up with this recipe was, we're taking traditional recipes and trying just to adapt them to one of our favorite recipes, which is the plant-based ground beef.
Yeah.
Here, so I'm going to get this going, coat the bottom of the pan.
This smells good already.
It does smell good. And actually, we have two of them right here, and at the end, Janie, I want you to try both of them and see if you can, pick out which one is the ground beef and which one is the plant-based beef.
Okay,
we'll try that at the end.
Yeah.
Okay. And the other recipes we did last year, actually the guacamole is one of them. The guacamole is really special is that we use sodium bisulfite. So sodium bisulfite is a powerful antioxidant. And what that does is it prevents the browning of the avocado, so you're not at a party, you bring your favorite guacamole recipe, and when you put it down on the table within an hour, it's brown.
Yep.
So I actually made this guacamole yesterday, and I just left it in the refrigerator, and I didn't have to mix it up. I didn't have to do anything. I could just scoop it right out into my bowl and not have to worry about it turning brown.
Yeah, so this recipe will also be in the links in the description below, and it's really cool because you can prep your guac like days in advance, and then also obviously if you're in a restaurant setting and you're like prepping for the dinner rush or whatever, like you can do this ahead of time. It's delicious, and the sodium bisulfite doesn't have any impact on the taste of the guac at all, right?
No, it has no impact on the taste. You're using such a small amount that it's not going to affect it, but it works for so many other things. Anything that you want to keep green, you can keep green with sodium bisulfite.
Yeah.
So that's a really good thing to know too. So it's not just a one-trick pony with the guacamole. If you have avocado that you turn into a puree or anything like that, you can keep it green.
Ah, that's a pretty good thing to do.
Yes.
So I think as you're browning the meat, do we want to talk a little bit about kind of like maybe some of the differences between making or adapting one of your favorite chili recipes to a plant-based version of that, and kind of like how we're able to make it so that you can use the same recipe regardless of what type of protein you want to put into it.
So it's actually really simple. When we first started trying to make recipes with our plant-based ground beef, it was like, okay, what are we going to have to do differently? But thankfully, we don't have to do too much differently.
Okay.
Sometimes I like to add, larger cuts of meat, so something like a short rib to my chili. And you could absolutely do that in your recipe. But if you wanted to do it with the plant-based ground beef, you're not going to be able to get, those larger, chunks of meat. Even if you were to, roast some of this off, it's going to eventually break down since it's in the liquid. But it still works great, for the ground beef. Yeah, there's really no issues that we're finding with adapting to recipes other than you can't have a steak or something like that because it's just not the same exact texture.
Okay, and I seem to remember when we were talking about a little bit, you had said something about if you're doing a ground beef version, the cooking time is going to end up being different. That we can do this on camera, but obviously we couldn't do the ground beef version.
Yes, that's actually a really good point. So with ground beef, you're going to, brown it up, put it off to the side, cook the rest of it. But then once you put the beef back in, it's going to take a lot longer for those flavors to kind of penetrate all the way through. And for them to penetrate all the way through, it's going to take a few hours. I don't know if you've, Sunday sauce is one of those things where you cook tomato sauce for a very long period of time. It kind of penetrates, whether it's bolognese or whatnot. It's going to take a long time for those flavors to go in rather than just getting a piece of what just tastes like ground beef. To where you get a piece of ground beef that has all the chili flavors mixed in. With our plant-based recipe here, we get the flavor immediately. It kind of just sucks it up and gets a really nice flavor on the inside. So yeah, I'm just going to keep browning this off. Takes a little bit.
Okay. So I think just in terms of planning, right, if someone doesn't want to make our recipe, how much additional time do you think they should add in if they want to do a meat version, the meat version of the recipe?
So if you're making like a large batch, you could have to add sometimes up to 4 hours, but that's like a very large batch of chili. For a smaller batch, I like to say an hour. So for 1 pound of meat or 2 pounds of meat, I would say just add an extra hour just to put it on nice and low and kind of let those flavors meld together. But yeah, you're only going to have to add about, let's say, an hour.
Okay, yeah, and chili is definitely one of my favorite things to make, like on the weekend, because you can cook up a big batch of it, and then you can have your leftovers for lunch, like 2-3 days afterwards, which is always nice because it sits so well.
All right, so we're getting close here. There's a little bit of browning, so I'm just going to add. I might need a little bit more time.
Okay.
So, one other recipe that we made last year was actually our sour cream recipe, and we have some right here.
Okay.
And the sour cream recipe is very simple. It's buttermilk, heavy cream. You place it into a sterile mason jar, and then you put a Sterilock lid right on top just to keep any, unwanted bacteria or anything out. And then after about a few days, maybe 2 to 3 days, you are left with a beautiful sour cream that you can put onto your chili. If you didn't want to use the sour cream for the chili, you absolutely don't have to. That's just one of those things that if you wanted to add it, you could.
Yeah, I definitely like a little sour cream in my chili.
For sure.
Yeah, and also, of course, cheese. And kind of one of the things that I really like about what we're doing this week is I like the idea of making recipes accessible to everybody, right? Like, not just like, well, I can't make that because I have these dietary restrictions.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool because because one thing I also like to put on my chili is tons of cheese, right? So you can either get your shredded cheese or you can use one of our vegan cheese recipes to make vegan cheese to put on your plant-based chili. So it's really cool that now you're going to get the same exact flavor profile and the same exact experience, which is nice.
Exactly. All right, so I'm going to jump ahead here for a bit. This could brown a little bit longer, but for the sake of this, I'm going to add in my onion, and you can just saute it up just really quickly. So I'm going to mix this in. If you want to check out a full recipe video, you can check our Instagram. And then a few things. I have some ground chilies here. So this is chili de árbol. This is also New Mexican chili. So on the recipe, you can switch out the chilies. If you want it to be really spicy, you can add whatever ground chilies you want to it. We like ours a little bit mild here, just so it's accessible to everyone. So I'm just going to sprinkle these in. And right now we're going to be activating our spices.
Okay.
And here's our barbecue rub, so there's a lot of different things in here. Vinegar powder, we have some sugar. This is where all of our seasoning comes from, so like our black pepper, our salt, everything is in here, so you don't have to really add any after. So I'm going to put that directly in. I'm going to get this moving around, try and get those flavors going.
It smells even better now.
So yes, we're building flavors right now. And as I get those in, the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually add some tomato paste. So I like a really thick, hearty chili. And sometimes I don't like to have to wait for a really thick, hearty chili. I did make this recipe the first time using just tomatoes, like whole tomatoes. And when you do that, you're going to have to double the amount that's on the recipe. So I usually use about double the amount of the tomato weight. But the recipe's written, so it has tomato paste here. And one thing you want to do with tomato paste always is you're going to cook the tomato paste a little bit. This is a French technique called pinçage, which just kind of cooks out that acidity of the tomatoes, right?
I did not know that. I always just dump it in.
So you just, if you get it at the beginning, you get a little bit of browning on it. It makes it very nice and beautiful. And if you want your chili to be brought to the next level, this is actually a milk stout chili. So we have some beer here. So a nice dark beer, preferably, a stout. You can use any beer, but I like this because it makes a nice, really rich flavor, especially to go with all those roasty flavors. And right now, we basically just deglaze the pan.
Good. This smells so good right now.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
It's my favorite. Obviously, when I was making this as a child, I wasn't putting beer in it, but I've grown up since then.
I like the idea of a young child Scott making chili on the stove.
I could always see over the stove. All right, so there. And now, once that starts to deglaze the pan, then I can add in my tomatoes. And these are just whole peel plum tomatoes.
Okay, so you're not like crushing them or doing anything.
I just do it with the spatula.
Okay.
So I like my chili to also feel very like homemade, right? So I just kind of take the spatula. You can crush these by hand, but it's totally fine to do this because if you get some bigger chunks of tomato, that's really nice sometimes as well. All right. So this chili will be ready to eat within the next half an hour or so.
Okay.
So I'm going to mix in these tomatoes. I am going to get a little bit of reduction on this. I am going to let those flavors come together, but it's not like I'm going to have to wait for it like I am with the beef chili.
So really from start to done, you're talking like maybe 15 minutes of active cooking time plus like 30 minutes of simmering time, right? So really, really easy. Really easy,
and you get all the flavor of a beef chili. The last thing I add is just some beans, and I know there's some people out there going, oh, beans don't go in chili. It's fine, whatever you want. If you don't want to add the beans, don't add the beans, right? So
I'm one of those people.
I like beans in my chili, but
I like white beans.
White beans are good,
Yeah.
cannellini beans, or sometimes pinto. Really, it's up to your liking. The flavors are all there already. The beans are just some added texture for me. And then this will go. I just lower it down and just allow it to simmer for a little bit. But now is the moment of truth, Janie.
Okay.
I want you to try these chilies.
All right.
And they have been sitting here for 15 minutes since while I've been cooking this or so.
Okay.
So I want you to try it, and I'm
Can
going
I put
to try
some guac on it?
Do whatever you like.
Sounds great.
It might, skew you because you're not going to get the full flavor, but do whatever you want.
Well, because the guac is one of my favorite parts.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so someone on YouTube was like, she takes really small bites, and I was
boy.
like, I'm trying not to blow out my mic with loud, obnoxious chewing noises.
Give him the ASMR of the chewing. Let's go.
I don't know. It seems so indelicate if you're not right on camera.
Oh, you got a jalapeno on there? That's also another way if you want to get some spice in there.
I'm taking my jalapeno off. It's too spicy.
Oh, okay.
All right. I'm going to do a little bit of guac.
Then some guac.
Because I think it's just nice to be able to see how fresh it is.
Yes.
How perfectly green even though you made it yesterday. All right, there we go.
Perfect. Let's see. That's chili number 1. So if you can see the chili here, that tomato paste is already starting to thicken it up. but we still need a little bit of time for those flavors and
then
the
try
barbecue
number
rub
2
to come out. So thoughts on that first chili while you choose this piece of guacamole?
It's really good, and I can't tell if it's plant-based or not.
There we go. I guess that's the point.
Yeah. So
We'll see after this one. We need an answer.
I think this one's the plant-based one.
You think it's the plant-based
Yeah.
one? What do you find with the plant-based one though? Like what makes you think that?
I think because I know what TVP tastes like, I think that's really the only clue. The texture is pretty much exactly the same.
Great. So yeah, that is the plant-based one. You can see that the TVP does soak up a little bit more of the moisture. You can see this is a little bit wet, and you could also see like the fat sitting on top. With this one, it soaks up all of that.
Yeah.
But if you had to choose, would you choose one over the other?
No, they're both super good.
Yeah. So all the flavors are all there. You know, plant-based ground beef has all sorts of, it has very meaty flavor into it already. And then with everything on top of it, you're not going to know the difference. We put this out 3 or 4 times for the staff here, and no one batted an eyelash at it. It was all gone every single time, and it's really delicious. And we're very proud of this chili recipe. It's fantastic. I'm going to make it for my family.
Yeah, and it's a crowd that does not hold back their opinions.
Oh yeah, tell me about it.
So, yeah, are you going to try some?
Oh, I've tried plenty of it.
right.
I don't think I mean, I'll take a massive bite for someone on.
Sweet.
Let's go.
Just shove it all
I
in
need
there.
like three chips to make my size bite. Here we go. This is what we're talking about.
There you go. All the crunch in the world. So, hopefully what we've shown today is that this is a super easy recipe, and you can do it whether you want to make it with ground beef, you want to make it with the plant-based meat, whichever way you go, it's going to be delicious. So give it a shot. Let us know what you think. Remember to leave your comments below and tag us on social media if you make it. Let us know what you're doing. We like seeing that stuff, so it's super cool. And enjoy whatever big game that you are watching today. So from here in the Modernist Pantry Test Kitchen, I'm Janie Wang.
And I'm Scott Guerin. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, like, comment, and subscribe. And turn that bell on because it notifies you when we drop a new video.
If you like any of today's recipes, go to blog.modernistpantry.com. There you'll find recipes, Ask a Chefs, and tips and tricks, and more.
And if you have a friend who you think would like this video, share it with them.
And to get any of these great ingredients, just go to our website, www.modernistpantry.com.
And until next time, we'll be here in the Test Kitchen, helping you create memorable and magical experiences.